Hello students, today's topic is larynx, but before discussing the larynx, let's have a look of this specimen. This is a specimen of the tongue along with the larynx and trachea. So you are visualizing the specimen from the posterior-superior side, and this is a dorsum of tongue. Over here you can see the laryngeal cavity beneath this, and this is a posterior view, while this is a anterior view of the specimen. In this specimen, mandible is not present, while in some specimen you will also find the mandible along with the teeth. So you can identify the dorsum of the tongue. This is the anterior view of the specimen, and you are seeing the structure from above. This is the tip of the tongue. This is the floor of the mouth. You can see this is a hyoid bone and the suprahyoid group of the muscle. So let's identify the suprahyoid group of muscle. The first one over here, that is a mylohyoid. After reflecting the mylohyoid, this is a hyoglossus muscle, and this is a genioglossus muscle. This is a genioglossus. On the lateral side, you can also appreciate this is a hyoglossus muscle, and there is a presence of the hypoglossal nerve. There is a part of the submandibular gland, and this is a lingual nerve. While again below the hyoid bone, this is our thyroid cartilage, and this is a lamina of thyroid cartilage, and this is the angle of thyroid cartilage. Between the hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage, there is a presence of thyrohyoid membrane. You can also appreciate some of the infrahyoid group of muscle, that is the thyrohyoid. This is the thyrohyoid muscle and cricothyroid muscle. Below the thyroid cartilage, there is a ring-shaped cricoid cartilage is there, and in this specimen you can also able to see the thyroid gland, and below this you can also appreciate the tracheal rings. From the posterior view, after cutting the posterior wall of the pharynx, you can able to see the following structure from above to below. This is a dorsum of tongue, and this is a base of the tongue. This is epiglottis, and you can appreciate the base of the tongue. It is connected to the epiglottis by means of the three fold, one in the midline and two on the lateral side. The midline fold, that is called the median glossoepiglottic fold, and lateral, there are pair of lateral glossoepiglottic fold. You can appreciate over here. So this is a lateral glossoepiglottic fold, and this is a median glossoepiglottic fold, and the depression on both the side of the median glossoepiglottic fold, this is called vallecula. So this is our epiglottis. It is a leaf like in shape, and over here this is a larynx. You can see the posterior wall of the larynx over here. The other structure which you can appreciate it, this is on both the side, this is our pyriform fossa, and this is a sagittal section of head and neck, and you can appreciate this is of right side. So this is the outer view, and this is the inner view. In this section, this is our cranial cavity. This is the cavity of nose, and posterior part, this is a nasopharynx. This is oral cavity, section of tongue, and this is our oropharynx. Over here, this is epiglottis, which is connected with the tongue by means of the median and lateral glossoepiglottic fold, and posterior to this is our laryngopharynx. So from the epiglottis, this is a part of larynx, and it is continuous as a trachea. So larynx is extended from the upper border of epiglottis up to the lower border of the cricoid cartilage. This is a cricoid cartilage, and it is a upper expanded part of the respiratory tract, which is modified to form a sound. So now see the extent of larynx in the specimen also. So larynx, it is extended from the upper border of epiglottis up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. So this is our cut part of the cricoid cartilage, and this is its lower border. So it is extend from the upper border of epiglottis up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. It is lies opposite to the C3 to C6 vertebra in the adults, and this cavity of larynx, it is communicated above to the laryngopharynx through the epiglottis, while below it is communicated with the trachea. And you can also see this is a tracheal rings over here, and this is our cavity of larynx in the specimen. So before understanding the cavity and the muscles of larynx, first we need to know the skeletal of larynx. The skeletal of larynx, it is made up of 9 cartilage. Out of the 9, 3 are paired and 3 are unpaired cartilage. So the unpaired cartilage, the first, that is the epiglottis. The second one, that is a thyroid cartilage. You can see this is a thyroid, and below the thyroid there is a ring shaped cricoid cartilage. This is a cricoid cartilage. This is its anterior part, and posteriorly its lamina. The paired cartilage are small cartilage which is lies within this airy epiglottic fold, and these are the two arytenoid, corniculate and the cuneiform cartilage. So to have a detailed idea, let's see the same cartilage in the model also. So this is a model of the skeletal of larynx. So you can appreciate this is a thyroid cartilage. This is from the anterior side, and this is its posterior border. Below the thyroid, this is our cricoid cartilage, its anterior arch and posteriorly wider lamina of cricoid cartilage. So over here we have only 2 unpaired cartilage, that is a thyroid and cricoid. If epiglottis is there, it is somewhat like this. It is attached on the posterior surface of the thyroid, and it is a leaf shape. So this is the attachment of the epiglottis from the posterior side, and this is its lateral view, and this is its anterior view. So there is a 3 unpaired cartilage. There is a thyroid, middle, above there is a epiglottis, and below there is a cricoid cartilage. And the paired cartilage, this is a arytenoid. Above the arytenoid, this is small, that is a corniculate, and there is a cuneiform. Cuneiform is not present over here, but you can appreciate it is attached with the apex of the arytenoid cartilage. So paired arytenoid, corniculate and cuneiform cartilage of the larynx. So the first unpaired cartilage is the epiglottis. Epiglottis, the shape is a leaf-like, and it extends obliquely behind the hyoid bone and the base of the tongue. The epiglottis is having a upper end, lower end. It is having a anterior surface, posterior surface, and 2 lateral borders. Upper end of the epiglottis, it is a free, and it forms the upper part of the inlet of the larynx, and it is covered with the mucous membrane, while the lower end of the epiglottis, it is connected to the angle of the thyroid cartilage through the thyroepiglottic ligament. So you can appreciate the epiglottis in the sagittal section. This is upper free end of the epiglottis, and this is a lower end of the epiglottis. You can appreciate this is a thyroid cartilage. This is the angle of thyroid cartilage, and the lower end, it is attached to the angle of thyroid cartilage through thyroepiglottic ligament. So this entirely epiglottis, which is extend obliquely behind the thyroid cartilage and the base of the tongue. Now the anterior and the posterior surface of epiglottis. The anterior surface of the epiglottis, it is covered with the mucous membrane, and it is connected to the base of the tongue through the median and the pair of lateral glossoepiglottic fold, and the depression on both the side of this median glossoepiglottic fold, that is called vallecula. The posterior surface, it is also covered with the mucous membrane and it forms the upper part of the cavity of the larynx. This posterior surface, in the lower part present a small tubercle. You can appreciate this is a small tubercle. So the posterior surface, it is a concave in shape. So the entire anterior surface and the posterior surface both are covered with the mucous membrane, but you need to remember the type of the epithelium over here. So the entire anterior surface and the upper half of the posterior surface, it is covered with the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, while lower part of the posterior surface is covered with the ciliated columnar epithelium. Now the lateral border of the epiglottis. For this I have taken another specimen in which the posterior wall of larynx is not cut and the laryngeal cavity is closed over here. So the lateral border, it is a free in the upper part, while in the lower part it provides the attachment of the airy epiglottic fold of the mucous membrane. So this is a airy epiglottic fold of mucous membrane, and this fold separate the laryngeal cavity from the pyriform fossa laterally. So you can appreciate both the sides. This is a pyriform fossa, this is a airy epiglottic fold, and this is the laryngeal cavity, and the lateral border, which is free in the upper part and the lower part, provides the attachment of the airy epiglottic fold. The second unpaired cartilage, it is a thyroid cartilage. It is lies in the midline of the neck. So you can appreciate this is a two lamina of the thyroid cartilage, which is a quadrilateral in shape. This is a lamina of thyroid cartilage. These two lamina meet at front and form an angle, which is called the thyroid angle or the laryngeal prominence. This angle is prominent and acute in male, which forms the Adam's apple. Now let's have a look of this thyroid cartilage in model also. This is a thyroid cartilage. It is a shield shaped cartilage. You can have a look of this, and this cartilage is having a two quadrilateral lamina which meet at the front and forms the angle. This is called the laryngeal prominence or the thyroid angle. Now, the upper part of the thyroid angle, the two lamina, is separated by a superior thyroid notch. Now the lamina, it is a quadrilateral in shape, so it is having a anterior border which forms the angle, free posterior border, it is having a upper border, lower border, the outer surface of the lamina, and this is a inner surface of lamina. Now the upper border of this lamina, that is a concavo-convex in shape, and it is connected to the hyoid bone by means of the thyrohyoid membrane. And you need to remember over here, this thyrohyoid membrane, it is pierced by the internal laryngeal branch of the superior laryngeal nerve and superior laryngeal vessels. The lower border of the lamina, it is connected with the cricoid cartilage, medially by the conus elasticus and laterally by the cricothyroid muscle. The posterior border of the thyroid cartilage, it is a free and it is extended above and below as a superior and the inferior thyroid horn. This superior thyroid horn, it is connected with the tip of the greater cornu of the hyoid bone, and the inferior thyroid horn, it is connected with the cricoid cartilage by means of the synovial cricothyroid joint. And you need to remember one thing over here, that the recurrent laryngeal nerve passes just behind to this cricothyroid joint. So this is a cricothyroid joint and this is a free posterior border. Again, this posterior border, it receives the attachment of the three muscles, that is a stylopharyngeus, palatopharyngeus and the salpingopharyngeus muscle. The outer surface of this lamina, it is having a oblique line which is extend from the superior thyroid tubercle up to the inferior thyroid tubercle, and this oblique line receives the attachment of the sternothyroid, thyrohyoid and thyropharyngeus part of the inferior constrictor muscle. So this is the inner surface of the lamina of thyroid cartilage, and to understand the attachment, let's articulate this epiglottis with the model. So over here, this is a epiglottis, this is quadrate membrane which articulates with the arytenoid cartilage like this, and the upper free margin which forms the aryepiglottic fold and the lower free margin forms the vestibular fold. So the attachment is like this. So now the attachment on the thyroid cartilage is anteriorly, this epiglottis is attached with the thyroid through the thyroepiglottic ligament over here. This is the attachment of thyroepiglottic ligament, while below there is attachment of the vestibular ligament. So you can see over here thyroepiglottic ligament, vestibular ligament, and below this is a vocal fold. So over here it gives attachment to the vocal ligament. Lateral to this there is a vocalis muscle, lateral to vocalis there is a thyroarytenoid muscle, and lateral to this there is a thyroepiglotticus muscle. So these are the structure which is attached to the inner surface of lamina of thyroid cartilage. So this is a ossified thyroid cartilage. It is ossified after the age of the 25 years, and you can appreciate this is the two lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Over here the angle is broken, but you can appreciate this is the superior border, this is a lower border, and these are the free posterior border with the superior and the inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage. This is the actual ossified thyroid cartilage. The third unpaired cartilage, that is a cricoid cartilage. It is a signet ring in shape. So it is having a narrow anterior part and broader posterior part. So the narrow anterior part, it is called the anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage, and the broader posterior part, which is a quadrilateral in shape, and it is called the posterior lamina of the cricoid cartilage. This cricoid cartilage, it is situated at the level of C6 vertebra. The narrow anterior arch, it is having a upper border and the lower border. It is connected with the thyroid cartilage in the midline by means of the conus elasticus and the cricothyroid muscle, and laterally it is articulates with the inferior horn of the thyroid cartilage by means of the synovial cricothyroid joint. The posterior part of the cricoid cartilage, it is a broad and quadrilateral in shape, which is called the posterior lamina of cricoid cartilage. The posterior lamina, it is having the upper border, lower border, anterior surface and the posterior surface. Upper border of the posterior lamina, it articulates with the base of the arytenoid cartilage by means of the synovial joint. The lower border gives attachment to the trachealis muscle. The anterior surface of the posterior lamina, it is covered with the ciliated columnar epithelium, while the posterior surface is having a one ridge over here which divide into the two shallow depressed area. This lateral area gives attachment to the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, while the median ridge, it gives attachment to the tendon of esophagus. Let's have a look of the cricoid cartilage in the specimen. So in this specimen, this is a thyroid cartilage, and below the thyroid, this is a cricoid cartilage which is covered with the cricothyroid muscle. So this is the cricothyroid muscle. So this is a narrow anterior arch of the cricoid cartilage, and posteriorly you can see this is a broader posterior lamina of cricoid cartilage, and this is upper border, this is the lower border. This muscle is a posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, and this you can appreciate, this is a tendon of esophagus. Now the three paired cartilage of the larynx, that is the arytenoid, corniculate and cuneiform. So over here you are looking the arytenoid cartilage, which is a somewhat pyramidal in shape. So it is having a apex, base, and it is having a 3 surface. Inside this is a medial surface, this is a posterior surface, and this entire is a anterolateral surface of arytenoid cartilage. This is the apex and this is a base. The apex is articulate with the corniculate cartilage, and right angle to corniculate we have a cuneiform cartilage. The arytenoid cartilage having a 2 process from its base towards the lateral side. Somewhere over here it is having a muscular process, and anteriorly it is having a vocal process. So the 3 paired cartilage, that is the arytenoid, corniculate and the cuneiform. So in the specimen above the cricoid cartilage, here is the position of arytenoid cartilage, and within this airy epiglottic fold there lies a corniculate and the cuneiform cartilage. So for that you need to palpate this fold. So corniculate and cuneiform cartilage are like a small nodule, and it is act as a probe which keeps the airy epiglottic fold upright in position. So it prevents the bolus of food from the piriform fossa entering into the laryngeal cavity. So this is a 3 cartilage within this area. Out of the 9 cartilage of the larynx, all are hyaline in nature except epiglottis, corniculate and cuneiform, apex of the arytenoid, and the vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage. So epiglottis, corniculate, cuneiform, apex and the vocal process of the arytenoid, these are elastic in nature. So laryngeal cavity is extend from the laryngeal inlet up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. So this is a inlet of larynx. The inlet of larynx, it is bounded above and in front by the epiglottis, below and behind by the interarytenoid fold of the mucous membrane, and on each side by the airy epiglottic fold. This is a airy epiglottic fold, and as you can see, the laryngeal cavity, the anterior wall, it is a longer compared to the posterior wall, and the inlet, it is placed obliquely. The same laryngeal inlet you can appreciate in the sagittal section. You can see this is the anterior wall of the larynx, which is the longer compared to the posterior wall, and this is a laryngeal inlet. Anteriorly epiglottis, posteriorly interarytenoid fold of mucous membrane, and on each side by the airy epiglottic fold. So this is the obliquely placed laryngeal inlet. So the inlet is lined by non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. The cavity of the larynx, after cutting the posterior wall of the larynx, we can appreciate the cavity of larynx. The larynx, it is extend from the laryngeal inlet over here up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. This cavity, it is divided into the 3 parts by means of the 3 mucous membrane fold. So the upper fold, that is a airy epiglottic fold, the second one, that is a vestibular, and the third, that is a vocal fold. Now you can see this is a airy epiglottic fold and this is a vestibular fold. The airy epiglottic fold, it is formed by the upper free margin of the quadrate membrane, while the lower free margin of the quadrate membrane, which is thickened and form the vestibular fold. And the third one, that is a vocal fold. So vocal fold, that is a thickening of the anterior part of the cricovocal membrane. So the space between the 2 airy epiglottic fold, that is called the laryngeal inlet. The space between the 2 vestibular fold, this is called the rima vestibuli, and in the closed larynx it is oriented antero-posteriorly, and the space between these 2 vocal fold, that is called the rima glottidis. So between the airy epiglottic fold, it is the inlet of larynx. Between the vestibular fold, it is a rima vestibuli, and between the 2 vocal fold, it is a rima glottidis. These 2 fold divide the cavity into the 3 parts. So the upper part, between the aryepiglottic fold and the vestibular fold, this is called the supraglottic compartment or the upper compartment. And as you can see, the direction or the shape of this supraglottic compartment, it is like a funnel. It is directed downward and medially. The space between the vestibular fold and the vocal fold, it is called the sinus of the larynx or the ventricle of the larynx. And the space below the vocal fold, it is called the infraglottic compartment, and the shape, it is like a truncated cone. You need to remember one thing, that vestibular fold, it is also called the false vocal fold, and also remember the sensory innervation of the larynx. So up to the level of the vocal fold, it is supplied by the internal laryngeal nerve, while below the level of the vocal fold, it is supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve.
The intrinsic muscles of the larynx are total 9 in number. They are namely cricothyroid, posterior cricoarytenoid and the lateral cricoarytenoid, transverse arytenoid, oblique arytenoid, aryepiglotticus, thyroarytenoid, thyroepiglottic and the vocalis. Out of this, the transverse arytenoid is only unpaired muscle. So now let's see this muscle in the dissection.
So the first muscle, that is a cricothyroid. This is a thyroid cartilage. This is a cricoid cartilage, and you can see this muscle which is passing upward and laterally from the outer surface and the lateral part of the cricoid cartilage up to the lower border of the thyroid cartilage. This muscle is a cricothyroid muscle. It is also called the tuning fork muscle of the larynx. So you need to remember the peculiarity of the cricothyroid muscle. This is the only intrinsic muscle of larynx which is situated outside of the cavity of larynx. This is the only muscle of the larynx which is supplied by the external laryngeal nerve. So, and it is also called the tuning fork muscle of the larynx. These are the three peculiarity of the cricothyroid muscle, and you can see this muscle over the cricoid cartilage. The intrinsic muscle of larynx, which you can see over here, are the posterior cricoarytenoid over here. These are the two oblique arytenoid. Between these two oblique arytenoid, over here some fiber of the transverse arytenoid, and within this aryepiglottic fold there is a aryepiglotticus muscle. So first one, that is a posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. You can see this muscle, it is arise from the posterior surface of the lamina of cricoid cartilage, and it passes upward and laterally and inserted on the muscular process of the arytenoid cartilage. So these two are the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. The second one, these two are the oblique arytenoid. This oblique arytenoid muscle, it is arise from the muscular process of the arytenoid cartilage of one side and inserted on the apex of the arytenoid cartilage of the opposite side. And these two obliquus muscle are forming a letter X shape. And this muscle lies posterior to the transverse arytenoid. So to see the transverse arytenoid muscle, there are the some fiber you can appreciate in front of this oblique arytenoid muscle. These are the fiber of transverse arytenoid which are arise from the one arytenoid cartilage to the opposite arytenoid cartilage. Now this oblique arytenoid, it is continuous within the aryepiglottic fold as a aryepiglotticus muscle. So over here we have removed the mucous membrane of the aryepiglottic fold, and these are the fiber of the aryepiglotticus muscle. So in this section you can appreciate posterior cricoarytenoid, oblique arytenoid, transverse arytenoid and aryepiglotticus muscle. After doing the meticulous dissection of the larynx, we can also appreciate there are the few fibers running over here. These are the fiber of the thyroepiglotticus muscle, and some fiber, these are the thyroepiglotticus, and some fiber passes toward the arytenoid cartilage. This is the thyroarytenoid muscle. So this is a thyroepiglotticus muscle. See the vocalis muscle. We need to remove the mucous membrane over the vocal fold. So this is our vestibular fold, and below this is a vocal fold, and we have removed this mucous membrane. So you can appreciate these are the fibers of the vocalis muscle. So as a conclusion of larynx, the larynx can be asked in exam either in the sagittal section or in this specimen. So now in the specimen you can ask the identification of the various structure like the tongue, epiglottis, this is medial and lateral glossoepiglottic fold, vallecula, inlet of the larynx, these are the pyriform fossa. If the muscle are dissected, then you can also ask about the nerve supply of the muscle. So you need to remember that all the muscle of the larynx, it is supplied by the recurrent laryngeal nerve except the cricothyroid muscle. This cricothyroid, it is supplied by the external laryngeal nerve, and it is also called the tuning fork muscle of the larynx. One more important muscle, that is a posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. This is the only abductor muscle of the larynx, so it is also called the safety muscle of larynx. Over here the cavity is closed. If the laryngeal cavity it is open, then you can also ask regarding the inlet of larynx. Then this is a vestibular fold, vocal fold, the space between the vestibular fold, that is the rima vestibuli, space between the vocal fold, that is called the rima glottidis. Three part of the laryngeal cavity, supraglottic compartment, this is the sinus or the ventricle of larynx, and the infraglottic compartment, and also the sensory nerve supply of the larynx. And in the sagittal section, you need to identify nasal cavity, nasopharynx, oral cavity, oropharynx. This is the cavity of larynx, and behind this there is a laryngopharynx. This is a inlet of larynx. This is epiglottis. Over here identify the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage. To identify, you can see the cricoid having a narrow anterior arch and the wider posterior lamina. You can see this is a cut portion of the lamina of the cricoid cartilage. So extent of the larynx from the inlet up to the lower border of cricoid cartilage. Within the cavity, you will appreciate this is a vestibular fold and the vocal fold. Between the two vestibular fold, it is called the rima vestibuli. Between the two vocal fold, it is called the rima glottidis. Supraglottic compartment, infraglottic compartment, and between the vestibular and the vocal fold, it is called the sinus of the larynx or the ventricles of the larynx. So, in this sagittal section, you can also see the attachment on the posterior surface of the thyroid cartilage. So this is epiglottis, and it is attached to the thyroid by a thyroepiglottic ligament. Then the second structure, that is a vestibular ligament, and it is forming this vestibular fold, and the third is a vocal ligament. So from above to below, thyroepiglottic ligament, vestibular ligament, and the vocal ligament, which is attached on the posterior surface of the thyroid cartilage. So we have done with the larynx in the sagittal section and in the specimen. So prepare the larynx thoroughly, and all the best for your exam.